Welcome. Today we're going to talk all about leaky bladder, or if you have urinary incontinence, if you get little small leaks through the day when you're laughing, sneezing, exercising, or unexpected leaks, or you just can't hold it as long as you used to, this is for you. I'm going to be talking about this from a little bit from a Western perspective, but more from the Eastern medicine perspective, Chinese medicine, because that is my expertise. I've been practicing it for 25 years and I've seen a lot of this in the clinic. So I'm going to talk to you generally about what it is. I'm going to give you some different patterns and how it differentiates. There's not one type of urinary incontinence from an Eastern medicine perspective. So I'm going to give you the ways to differentiate and some lifestyle things that you can do to help rebalance your body and hold your pee longer. So welcome. So urinary incontinence refers basically to an involuntary leakage of urine. This is not a surprise if you have it. And this is very prevalent around or among women as you advance in age. Also, after childbirth, this can be really common. If you have not ever worked with a pelvic floor physiotherapist, I highly recommend it. There's not one type. Pelvic floor, can be sort of a prolapse, or there can be I'm going to go through the different patterns, but sometimes it's actually too toned, it's too tight, and that can cause its own issues as well. I'm going to speak to that, but this is a great modality to really work on this if you haven't already. I'm going to speak about the Eastern medicine things that will complement that, but this is very common as women age, or if there's this underlying pattern from having children as well. So it's that involuntary leakage. There's stress incontinence, which basically is leakage during activities of increased abdominal pressure that increase the abdominal pressure. So coughing, sneezing, exercising when there's heavy lifting can do this. That can be more that stress. This is more from a weakened pelvic floor muscle and a depletion versus an overtone. There's urge incontinence. So this is like a sudden intense urge to urinate followed by an involuntary leakage. So this can come from a urinary tract infection. It can come from a neurological disorder or an overactive bladder. Then you can have a mix of the two. Isn't that special? That's lucky. And then there can be overflow incontinence. So this is inability to actually empty your bladder completely, and this can lead to frequent dribbling. And sometimes this can come from a pelvic floor that is actually too tight, and it's not actually letting that full bladder, like the bladder, to fully evacuate. And so, as I mentioned, pregnancy, childbirth, this can increase a little bit with menopause and aging. Obesity can contribute, certain surgeries as well. And so typically modalities range from pelvic floor muscle training, so working with pelvic floor physiotherapist. Sometimes medication or surgical interventions would be more from the Western standpoint. Since I'm an Eastern medicine practitioner, let's talk about that. So there's three main patterns that we see with Eastern medicine. So if you're not familiar with traditional Chinese medicine or Eastern medicine, we look at the body as an ecosystem. And when that ecosystem is off of balance, it's going to talk to us in many different ways. So every single symptom that you have is basically a guidepost to telling us what pattern or what system is off of balance. So you might come in with many different symptoms thinking most women or not, a lot of people will come in and say, I'm falling apart. I have all these different things. And when we get down to it, they're actually signs of the same imbalance that's showing up in different areas of the body. And when we understand that, we're able to focus in on bringing balance back through lifestyle medicine, through dietary therapy. So customizing the diet. It's not about good food or bad food. It's about the right food for you. That means picking the right foods, but also how it's prepared, how you eat, sleep, different, all the different things. We use also acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine herbs, as well as looking at the lifestyle. The most important thing always is lifestyle and food first, because that's something that you're doing at home all the time. That's why with these videos, I'm really trying to give you things that you can do, understanding your body and having your back pocket basically, so that you can take action at home and really understand. If you're able to work with a Chinese medicine doctor, that's fantastic as well. So the three patterns that we typically see with traditional Chinese medicine, there's more of a Qi deficiency. So Qi is our vitality or energy. Its job is to circulate energy in the body. Its job is to hold things in place. And we want to make sure that it's smoothly running in the body. So we can have Qi deficiency in the kidney and bladder system. So obviously the bladder is related to that. And if this system is out of balance, it can lead to frequent urination, dribbling, incontinence. We could also see a Qi deficiency showing up in the spleen, stomach department. So that's more the digestive um, organs, if you will. And its job, the spleen at Qi, is to hold organs in place. So if you're getting a prolapse and a leakage from that, the spleen might have something to do with it. And then there's also Qi stagnation. In particular, we'd see this in the liver Qi stagnation. If we are chronically stressed, emotionally dysregulated in some way, if we are just, we are tight, we're sitting in the same position at our computer, if we get these chronic tight shoulders and occipital headaches and tension, this can be a sign this liver Qi is stagnated. And that's more of when, not that there's a prolapse, it's just the body is overly tight in this area. So we're going to use acupuncture, herbal medicine, diet, lifestyle modifications to help bring balance back. There's great evidence through studies to show the effectiveness of acupuncture and herbs. But like I said, there's so much you can do before you get there. So let's dive into the different patterns. So the first one that we're going to talk about is kidney Qi deficiency. So this is the kidney system. The kidneys are like our bank account of energy. They're our resources. This is like you've been stocking money away for retirement in your savings account. And when it's depleted, it's like, oh, I've just been withdrawing from my retirement fund and I'm in overdraft now. And so that's kind of what a kidney Qi deficiency is. Like we're born with a certain amount of energy, and if we've overextended it, we're going to get a weakness in this system. So it's really the foundation of health. And if this is, we call it the kidneys to the gate of vitality. And so if this system is out of balance, we're going to get a lot of leaking of urine and through the bladder with exertion. So coughing, sneezing, jumping, there just doesn't have that energy to hold. You're going to have a mild pelvic organ prolapse. This is not a really, really severe one, but more the mild one. This might be coupled with low back pain, knee pain, soreness, or weakness. You might have deep fatigue. You might feel that when you get tired, your low back starts to really hurt. Might have a little bit of ringing in your ears, more like a chronic low rushing kind of sound versus a super high pitched one that comes with anger or something like that. In this one, you're going to have the dribbling, frequent urination. So we really want to tonify this system and bring that holding pattern back and lifting the energy. For sure, sleep is really important with this, like proper rest. If you are pushing through, if you get that, I'm like a broken record with this. If you've been listening to me, this is one of the number one imbalances I see in modern living. But if you're tired and you're like, oh, I could use, really use a rest. And then something in you goes, I can't, I've got this to do. I'll just get this thing off my list. I'll just do this extra thing, or I committed to that, I can't cancel. When you override that need for rest, you're dipping into that savings account essentially. So proper sleep hygiene, as we like to call it, getting to bed well before midnight is really important, and prioritizing that deep, consistent rest, watching that overwork, as I said, particularly in the evenings, right? We have these patterns or cycles in life, and it shows up through our seasons, winter, spring, summer, fall. But we have like spring of the day is morning, and then we have summer, which is high noon, and then the fall, autumn, and then winter basically is nighttime when we should be resting more. So we want to getting up, working peak work around midday, and then slowly decreasing that. And that helps our circadian rhythm as well. Cortisol should rise in the morning and then decrease in the afternoon, where our more resty kind of hormones and melatonin and all that starts to build in the evening. So you want to avoid overworking in the evening. And avoid over exercising. If you're someone who relates to this kidney depleted pattern, you want to do short bursts of exercise versus long boot campy, heavy duty exercise. And that's going to deplete because your body's going to say, oh my God, we're still going. I got to pull the energy from somewhere. And it puts it in a stress state. So over exercising and anything where you're straining, really pushing down, Something that I know happens a lot with pelvic floor issues is that there can be a overly bearing down sensation. It's a pushing down. So it's really important if you're doing any strength training that you are basically breathing out when you're in engaging what they're called your transverse abdominals. So that muscles that kind of come in and along the sides and hold everything in place. Those really need to be engaged instead of a sort of bearing down. So just notice if you're ever picking up something or doing weights and you're bearing down, this can be causing a problem and contributing to that urinary leakage. Uh, the other thing, you want to keep this low abdomen and low back warm and not expose it to the cold. So gently lifting, moderate activity lifting, not overdoing it. And sort of think of it like those transverse abdominal muscles. It's almost like you're zippering up. Like it's if you had a, if you're putting on a nice tight pair of jeans and you're going to zip it up, that feeling of just everything coming in and being tight and nice and supported in there. That's going to be the transverse abdominal activation. So hugging in, moving, and you don't want to do any sort of forceful. Most people think of Kegels. Probably did one right now when I said it, but that kind of that in and up exercise. You want to do more of a subtle, you don't want to do anything too forceful. So almost like it's like you're trying to bring a blueberry up a straw, if you will. And that's the kind of energy, sort of that up and in activity. Okay, so that's the kidney Qi deficiency. Then we can have the spleen Qi deficiency or sinking spleen Qi. So this has the spleen Qi, it really has this lifting and holding effect. And if this system is weak, I often see this weak if someone has really weak digestion, leaky gut, a lot of food sensitivities, bloating, distension, fatigue, maybe congestion after you eat, just feeling like heavy and foggy headed. This can be this side. This particular pattern is showing up. So this is more around those bladder or uterine prolapses. It's a strong prolapse when when the system is out of balance. So dribbling urine, especially when you're standing or lifting or really tired. If you notice your I know people who have done this when they're really tired and they go for a run or something and they just leak just by simply running with something, if they weren't tired, it wouldn't happen. They have the energy to hold it in. So that this can also show up with like a heaviness in the low abdomen, like almost like a pulling or dragging sensation, that drag down. This pattern may, if you're still menstruating, this could feel when you're menstruating like everything feels like it's being pulled out of you. This can be a sign of this pattern imbalance as well. You will often see when this spleen Qi deficiency or sinking, you're going to get loose bowels, bloating, low appetite, puffy. If you get sock marks easily or you're bruising really easily, you're like, what did I do? I have these bruises everywhere. That can be a sign that this system is out of balance because that spleen Qi is to hold everything in place, including our blood in its right place. So bruising can be a sign of that leaking. So this one, you want to make sure you're doing all these things to raise or lift that spleen energy and support that system. Number one thing for this, warm cooked foods. Nothing cold, nothing frozen, nothing raw. I am sorry if you smoothies and salad lovers are out there. Just do warm, particularly first thing in the morning. Soups, congee, roasted vegetables. If you're dying for a salad, do roasted cooked vegetables and throw a little bit of your leafy greens after so they wilt. Do a warm dressing. This will make a huge difference. It's going to allow your gut to absorb. I'm going to put a link to my gut course in because this is the foundation of everything. But warm cooked foods are going to be your number one. Avoid long periods of standing or intense physical effort. So if you're having to stand in one place or just going, you really need to rest. A nice thing to do for this one is at the end of the day or when you take a break, elevate your legs. So this can be legs up the wall pose. It's amazing. Any sort of just legs on a chair, anything that reverses that energy and uses gravity to help bring everything down can be really helpful. And then If you are an overthinker, you're going to want to watch this as well. This taxes that system as well. So basically, our digestive system, we take in food, we digest it, we make it ourselves. Whatever information we take in, we have to digest that. And that turns into our wisdom, our inner knowing, our experience, all of those components. So if you're over consuming, it's like you're at a buffet and you don't stop eating. Your body's like, I don't know what to do with all this stuff. I can't digest it. That's our current world with the amount of information we have. It's coming in. It's information overload. And if you're thinking, worrying all the time, also just giving your mind a break. Meditation is great for this. So for this one, we want to do that pelvic floor. We want to think of drawing up and in. So that blueberry up a straw, visualizing this during a pelvic floor lift, that light, nourishing pulling up and holding, no clenching. We don't want the clenching, but drawing it up. And then that transverse abdominal engagement on an exhale, really, really helpful. All those inversions, bridge, supported bridge, legs up the wall, anything to counter gravity, because gravity is pulling everything down and we want to reverse that. So doing that. And then really looking at trying to balance your day with that work and rest. Okay, the next one is when we have liver Qi stagnation. This is a stuck energy. This is like an internal traffic jam. This is like stuff is, we're just like too tight. And so this is when we have an overly tense or tight pelvic floor. It can't actually release properly. So we want to, and this can lead to like leakage, stress, under stress or urgency, or just we go to the bathroom and then we get up, but oh, there's more there. So that's more of this liver Qi stagnation. So this would be more of a weak pelvic floor, but comes more because it's in a constant contraction. So if you're like contracting your muscle all the time, it gets exhausted, but it also is not getting strong because we need that relaxation and then the contraction to build the muscle. So this one tends to have that overly tight pelvic floor. So it may actually feel like weakness, but it's more from just being too tight. And so incomplete voiding is this one, pelvic tension, discomfort. You will definitely have more irritability. You could have jaw tension. Grinding your teeth is really common with this. Rib cage tension. So almost if you feel like there's something around your rib cage and you're like sighing a lot, if you're noticing your mood swings or your toleration is just like non-existent, you're just very quick to get irritable, PMS, and irritability before your cycle if you're menstruating, this breast tenderness, all that can be signs of this system being off balance. So you really want to move this. We want to release that constraint and help things move and the flow move well, because the liver controls everything, and we want to make sure it's communicating well between all the organ systems. So movement is really important for this one, particularly unstructured movement. I've found this a lot with people. When we're doing so much is like we're doing things in this very static sort of linear and structured way. Unstructured dance, walks, movement, where you let your body do what it needs to do and move in the way it needs to move, can be really helpful. So flowing, expressive movement is really helpful. Anything that helps to move those emotions out, journaling, and emoting in a really healthy way, helpful. Anything that's any of the nervous system resetting tools that I do, and anything that just decreases the tension in your body, really helpful. I find this pattern works really well with those bursts of exercise through the day to continually, not like if you can do a bigger exercise routine at the end of the day or the beginning, but taking breaks that allow you to move the energy through the day, really helpful. And wherever you can decrease that pressure on yourself. If you're really a perfectionist and really demanding a lot for yourself, then this is something that you want to watch. So this one is more about, when we talk about the pelvic floor, it's more about the softening the pelvic floor. So softening and visualizing almost like an opening that's going to happen. Avoid clenching. Watch if you're like you're clenching your glutes through the day, or your jaw, even your inner thighs. Some people are just, as they're going through the day and they're tight, they're like, why am I clenching my butt? And so really looking at, opening that up. Any kind of that figure four where you're putting your ankle over your knee, or pigeon pose in yoga. These can be really helpful to open up those hips. Child's pose, really, really nice supportive pose for this. And just any of that diaphragmatic breathing that's connecting you to that rhythm of fully opening, not just, a lot of times people are breathing just in their chest, but you want to expand through your ribs, through your belly as much as you can. And then as you breathe in, just that light engagement with that transverse abdominal. So rhythmically breathing and making sure you're softening fully on that exhale as well. All right, and the last pattern I'll just mention, it has to do with the kidneys as well. So we have the kidney yin and kidney yang, and when either one of those are off of balance, then we can get some urinary tract or urinary infection, not infections, we're talking about dribbling, the more leakage. So when we have the kidney yang depleted, it's more of that fire is weakened. And so we're going to see more cold, fatigue, weakness, puffiness, and there's just not enough tone and fire in the body. So this could be someone who gets leakage in cold weather, or early in the mornings. In particular, you're waking up and having to go to the bathroom, or noticing leakage early in the mornings. If you have a very weak, flaccid pelvic floor, if you're cold, low libido, deep fatigue, puffiness, if you get puffiness under your eyes when you wake up, if you notice you have edema on your legs and it's that pitted edema, so if you're pushing your fingerprint stays there, and this often you'll show up with dribbling urine a lot. You really want to warm and tonify this section. So staying warm, layering up, making sure you're not sitting on any cold surfaces. This is a big deal for us. So making sure you're always warm, particularly that low back, eating warm cooked foods, warmer spices like cinnamon and ginger, just resting early in the evening. So downtime and going to bed super early is really, really helpful. Those nice nighttime routines. And you want to build light resistance and movements in, but not overextending it. So building up that heat in the body. So breath work can be really helpful. That breath of fire with yoga, if you know that. Warming hot water bottle, putting that on the pelvic area, the low belly or the back, and just as you're doing exercises to tone, anything that to tone in, so like pelvic tilts, bridge lifts, all coordinated with breathing and toning that pelvic floor, really, really helpful, and avoiding high impact or overly intense movements. And then the kidney yin deficiency, we've got too much, we don't have enough of the cooling. The heat side is fine, but we have too much of that we don't have enough of that cooling. So we might get, this pattern might show up with more of a flushes of heat or dryness. And this is more of like a hyperactive bladder with little volume held. So urinary incontinence, frequent small voids, restlessness, low vaginal dryness can be part of this, or pelvic heat or discomfort. Night sweats, dry mouth, insomnia is more a part of this pattern. I don't see this as much, but it definitely shows up. So this one, we want to nourish the yin, we want to cool, and we want to take some of that irritation that comes from that dry heat away. So for this pattern, quiet is really nice. Reflective time, reduce stimulation, reduce stimulants as well. So coffee, alcohol, although the warming, stimulating foods or drinks can really cause a problem. Anything that overheats, sauna, hot yoga. I'm sorry for all you hot yoga people out there. Any kind of intense workouts where you're sweating a lot can deplete this system. You're going to want to add more hydrating yin nourishing foods like pears, barley, millet, black sesame seeds can be really helpful. You're going to want to have a calm, cool, and collected nighttime routine. So no screens at night, a cool environment can be really, really helpful. And for the pelvic floor with this, a yin yoga practice with supported rest, really allowing that receiving posture, those ones to allow yourself to receive, it's like a cooling balm for your body. So you can actually imagine coolness, water, breathing into that pelvic bowl, that can be really help. And when you're doing the transverse abdominal or pelvic floor activities, you want it after like full relaxation. You really want small, slow, fluid movements versus anything that's sharp muscle contractions. That was a lot. All right. So hopefully that helped you. I went through the very distinct Chinese medicine patterns, some food, some lifestyles. I'll save it for another video, but I'll do some essential oils that can help as well. So check back for that. And I'll put a bunch of links that I think are helpful for you in the notes. And there's lots you can do, but it's really important you understand your particular body, what it needs, lifestyle-wise, food-wise, and then giving that light support to the pelvic floor and the bladder so that you can improve the urinary incontinence that you have and feel better overall. So thanks for being here. If you have questions, comments, put them in the chat in the comments. I love supporting and hearing what's working for you, and also if you have requests, I'm happy to honor those as well. So thank you for being here, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.